And to wrap up this section on sort of like debugging bash, one thing I really like is being able to time commands. You can time how long a command takes by simply using time. You just put a command after this, and it will run the command and it will tell you how much time it took. There are three different things here, real, user, and system. I'll talk about them in a second, but this is super useful because I could time ls and I could see how long it took. I could time grep d from user share dict words and see how long it took. Now, these three different times, very simply explained, real is how long it actually took on the wall clock. This is the real time. This is a human had to wait for 0.081 seconds. I had to wait for 81 milliseconds for this to run. User time is how much of this was spent in the user space, and system time is how much of this was spent in the system or the kernel. If you don't know these, it's okay, don't worry about it, just focus on the real time. If you know about this stuff, then user space is how much bash is processing, and then system time is how much bash is waiting for the kernel to do something like read a file, or something a program can't do, but it has to ask the kernel to open a file, read a file, things like that, system calls, things like that. If you've ever looked at, I'll show you real quick, if you ever look at like htop, wow, this looks terrible on my terminal. But here we go. You can notice that this is the CPU usage of my computer right now. You see how some of the cores have green and some of them have red. I believe green is user time and red is system time. I might have that backwards, but green is how much your CPU is spent in user space. So that's like what a program is doing. If a program is doing heavy mathematical calculations or anything like that, system time is your kernel's doing work. So that could be my user space asking my kernel to read a file or talk to a network source, or that could be my kernel doing tasks of just like maintenance to keep my computer running. Yeah, probably won't be relevant for many of your endeavors with bash, but it's important to know the difference there. But the real time is actually how long something took. It is super useful to be able to know that. The thing about the time command is it is built in to bash, and it's a keyword, so you can do all sorts of like fun things with it, but you can actually like time an entire pipeline, I believe. Long story short, can you actually, hold on. Actually, let me test it. I think you can do this. I think I can do time ls pipe grep Dave, and I'd have to double check. I think it actually times the entire thing and not just the ls process because it's a keyword in bash. I don't actually know. If I were to have something like this complex, I'd probably be putting it in a script and then just timing the execution of the script. But again, time is also built into your system, so this can cause weird problems. I'll show you what I mean by that. Imagine if I were to run something like, who am I? We can see that it's Dave. Okay, that makes sense. What if I sudo who am I? Remember, sudo is a command that executes or elevates my privileges. So I'm going to type in a little password here, and there we go. I'm going to type my password in correctly here. Going to remember what my password is for this machine. Wow, okay, I almost forgot my password for this machine. That's really funny. Let's just edit that out. Yeah, so I got my password in first try. Perfect, no problems there. But as you can see, so who am I gives me root if I'm running with sudo, but it gives me Dave here. Why is this important? Because if I were to time what it took to call sudo who am I, or if I were to sudo time who am I, you get different output. And the reason I'm getting different output is because time is built into bash, and if it's the leftmost thing, if it's the first command I'm running the bash built-in time, and time is executing sudo with the argument who am I. So sudo is running who am I. This case is different. We're executing sudo first, we're becoming root first, and then we're running time. We become root. Sudo is an external program. It can't go back into our shell and run our built-in time. It has to look for time on the system. So this is actually running bin time or whatever showed up there. Yeah, it's running user bin time. So this is the external command. So be mindful of that. If you're like, oh, I wonder what commands time take, or what arguments time takes, and you go look at the man page, and then you try to use some of those arguments, they don't work. That's because time is also built into your shell, and the bash version of time only takes the -p format. So be mindful of that. You might get some weird output. It does matter the order of your commands there. So that's kind of how to navigate around that.